Hey everybody, my name's Corey, also known as CoreyAether, and a week ago I quit streaming. Now, that might not seem relevant to virtually anyone because my audience was rather small, and that's not to discredit those of you who stuck by me and were part of my community and are still part of my community and are probably seeing this now, who have supported me over the last 8 years. I know that it was kind of out of nowhere that I stopped streaming, or that I decided to quit streaming. But it's something that I don't think I properly explained well enough in a short 3-minute, rather somber departure at the end of my last stream. So I thought, while sitting here and playing some Pokemon, which is a very casual game, I would at least explain in more detail the thought process that went behind my quitting of streaming, my departure from the platform of Twitch and live broadcasting. Before I do that, I feel like I need to put in a bit of background data. Preface. I need to preface this information with as much, at least, knowledge of my beginning of streaming, what my last 8 years was, that sort of thing, all put together into one finite story that I can explain and have it in a recorded place so that someone can understand it. So, I started streaming in 2015. That's not true. 2014. I apologize. I was late on that, I think. I started streaming in 2014 on a different account. Twitch didn't have name changes back in the day, so I had multiple Twitch accounts. And by that I mean I deleted one and switched to another. But nonetheless, I started streaming on an account in 2014. And streaming was something that I started doing because I had the same mindset that I believe a lot of people who get into streaming have, which is, hey, me and my friends are funny. Why don't I do that streaming thing? If people find insert YouTuber name here, or insert streamer name here funny, they might find me funny too, because I find me and my friends funny. And it started with Minecraft, and it kind of went from there. And I had some early success in streaming. I think in my first 2 weeks of streaming, it was Pixelmon back when no one knew what Pixelmon was. I had quite a bit of a following. I think I gained 900 to 1,000 followers in my first week of streaming. I had, 40 to 50 concurrent viewers. It was a big deal because I was the only person on the platform at the time who had decided to broadcast Pixelmon. And obviously there was a fall off coming out of that. Once you exit a niche that builds you up in the first place, you lose a lot of the people that were only present in your content for that niche. And that roller coaster of success and then just really hard downward swings is something that happened kind of a lot in my streaming career. And most of that was because of roleplay. Now, that entire time that I was streaming, that 8 years, I would say a majority of that 8 years was consistent broadcasting. I believe in that 8 years, I had possibly 1 to 2 months total in that 8 years that I just wasn't streaming at all, either from working full-time while I was in college full-time and not being able to have the hours, or when I was living in an apartment and I didn't have the internet bandwidth to be able to stream, or who knows? It could have been any reason or another, but you can check my Twitch tracker. It's not hard to do, and you can see how long I was streaming, and a lot of those streams being extremely long streams, and the point being that I was a consistent broadcaster. Now, that 8 years, I was streaming, for the most part, for fun. Streaming was a fun thing for me, and I don't want to downplay streaming. I had some random guy on Twitter when I had tweeted about quitting streaming, telling me that I was clearly only in it to get rich or to get famous. And I think those people who have known me for the last 8 years know that that's just not the case. What streaming was for me was a hobby. What streaming was for me was an escapism. And I've realized a lot in the last week just how much of a crutch streaming was for me. Because I would stream 8 to 10 hours every time that I streamed. Sometimes 6. Every once in a while I'd have a really bad day and it would be less. But, 8 to 10 hours. A long stream. A long stream for anyone. And I would do those hours because it was me filling my time without being alone. I'm a very socially anxious person, and I spend a lot of my time indoors at my house, and I don't get out much. I don't have local friends. My life, my social life is online. And that meant that my life, my streaming life, was where I was social with people. It was what made me not alone. If I was feeling lonely, if I was feeling that creeping depression, I could hit start streaming and have at least 2 to 3 people, if not 10 to 15, who were there as a presence with me in chat. Not to say the whole parasocial Andy thing is happening where like those people are now my friends, but the point stands. I could stream and have people around me. On top of that, streaming was fun. I enjoyed the hell out of streaming. It was something that I really wanted to dedicate my time to. But with wanting to dedicate my time to it, it's also something that I did strive for success in. And I think it's crazy to think after 8 years that I should still only be streaming for the fun of it. And this logic comes into play, and I've thought about this a lot, and I've had a few discussions with some people to try to explain my reasoning, especially a conversation I had with my little brother, who I had picked up from the airport the other day, and I told him that I stopped streaming. And that is that a hobby, no matter what the hobby is, even if you're not looking for public success, in a hobby, you are looking for growth. And you're looking for results of your time and effort into a hobby that you're passionate about. If someone decides to try out painting and you walked up to them and said, well, the only reason you're painting or the only reason you should be painting is because you enjoy it. Well, if a person is painting for 8 years, like I've been streaming for 8 years, they would hope as a painter that they can visualize their improvement in the art of painting. Like they have some modicum of success in painting, right? They want to see, if they look at their paintings from 8 years ago and their paintings now, they want to see that they've grown, that they've developed, that they've got something to show for their time and effort. And I feel personally, when I look back on streaming for the last 8 years, that I don't have that. I don't have anything to show for the amount of time, the amount of energy, the amount of passion, the amount of love I've put into broadcasting, into live broadcasting. I don't have anything to stand behind that amount of time. And people will say to me, well, look at your follower count, and you've built a community, and I look at myself and say, well, technically, no, I haven't. The follower account's one thing. You got 8,000 something people following you. Well, guess what? Out of those 8,000 something people, it's the same 10 to 20 that show up when I broadcast. Those people were there for me. And I appreciate those people wholeheartedly. And I cannot thank those people enough for their dedication to my content that I created. But when that 10 to 20 people never grows, when I'm not growing that community, when people aren't sticking around, that becomes something that over 8 years is extremely disheartening. And almost hurts more when I do something like roleplay, which I built obviously a large literal following, a follower count off of roleplay in the roleplay community through Arc, through Conan, through GTA. In the small tenure of GTA that I did, I was seen. My content was in front of eyes. It's not like I didn't have the opportunity. And at the same time, I could have abused that opportunity and forced success on myself, but I would have done it in a miserable way. And that's on me. That's my fault. And I know that. Like, I know that's my fault. I know that if I truly wanted to, during the peak of Arc roleplay, during the peak of Conan roleplay, during any time that I was doing GTA, especially when it was on NoPixel, that I could have spent every day just busting my ass, grinding out the hours, and farming content that I didn't want to create for the success that I wish I had seen as a result of my labors over the last 8 years now. I could have worked through my willingness to leave. I could have pushed myself to roleplay when I didn't want to roleplay, play characters that I didn't want to play, and farm the concurrent viewership that I was able to garner just from the fact that I was surrounded by people 10 million times more talented than me, but people nonetheless that would have sort of a bleed effect. I could have leached, is basically what I'm saying. I had the numbers, the statistics prove it, that if I had dedicated myself solely to roleplay, something that I've grown to really not enjoy, that I could be a Twitch partner right now. I could have the partner tick. If I was forcing myself to still do roleplay, I could probably have the partner numbers. But I would have been miserable, which is what factors into the doing this the way I enjoy, playing what I want because I enjoy it. I didn't want to turn Twitch into a job when I didn't make enough money from it for it to be a job. And I explained on my stream a little bit that I had a conversation with a couple friends, and we talked about the ability of becoming successful on Twitch and the idea of luck or not luck. And it's not that conversation made my decision a thing, but it got me thinking. And thinking about why I'm still doing this. Why I'm still busting my ass. Why I'm not changing anything. Then it was, what could I change if I was changing anything? How could I make myself enjoy this again? What needs to happen? And I thought about it for days and days. I do feel it was about a full week, that I thought about this. And what it came down to in my head, and I hope this makes sense to somebody, and I know I'm rambling, and I know there's probably a lot of dots that aren't connected, and I'm fully willing to connect dots if anyone has questions about those dots that need to be connected. But I got to a point where all I wanted to do was pull the plug because I felt like I was going insane. You know the saying. They say it a million times, and they'll say it a million more times. Like, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result, right? And that's what streaming was for me. It was doing something, streaming, over and over and over and over again, day after day after day, week after week after week, without getting a results change, without seeing anything improve? And all I wanted to do was pull the plug. All I wanted to do was sit here and say, I need to just not. And if I just stop, then maybe, and I have to pull the plug. I can't say I'm taking a break. I can't say I'm going to be away for X amount of days or X amount of weeks. I just need to say I'm done. Because if I don't, nothing's going to change, and it's going to drive me mad. It's going to destroy my mental. It's going to literally plague my mind every day, all day, that nothing is changing. And I needed something to change. So, what did I do? I cut the string. I pulled the plug. I just said, fuck it, I'm out. I need to be done. I need to be done, or else nothing's gonna change. And I did. I had promised my community that I was going to finish Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and during the end credits of the game, I voiced to them that I was done. That I wasn't going to be continuing streaming. That I was pulling the plug, that in a few short minutes was going to be the end of my streaming career. If you can even call it a streaming career. And I did. I pulled the plug. And with a quick, it was 3 to 4 minutes, I believe, I explained what exactly was, going on mentally and what was going to be. I ended the stream by saying sorry, which was a mistake, because I don't know who I'm apologizing to or why I'm apologizing. I shouldn't need to apologize for doing things for the betterment of myself, But I apologized anyways. And now it comes down to what has the last, week been for me. I believe it's a week on Saturday. I believe Saturday was my last stream. So what have I been up to in the week? Or not what have I been up to, but what is my... Has anything changed in the last week since I left? And what has happened in the last week is I realized a lot of things about myself that I wouldn't have realized had I not pulled the plug. And it's stuff that once I explain it is probably going to seem like it's a really healthy decision that I made for myself. Number one, I realized that every day there was nothing on my mind besides what do I need to do before I go stream for the rest of the day? What do I need to get done from the moment I wake up to the moment I can sit at my computer and hit the go live button? And I've also realized how toxic that is to me, to the people around me. How much time can I get? How quickly can I get things done before I start streaming? And as soon as I start streaming, I'm not going to do anything else. It's not healthy. I started questioning, like, what am I doing? Like, why is my brain only thinking about stream? And it's not healthy. And I realized that so fast because Sunday rolled by and I had a video to edit and everything in my mind was like, I gotta sit down and go live and edit this video. And then I realized, wait, I quit yesterday. I have literally all day to get this work done. I don't have to start it at a certain time. I don't have to finish it by a certain time. I don't have an obligation besides getting it done at some point during the day. Because I didn't have streaming to lock me into it. To take my time. And speaking of time, I didn't realize how much time I was going to have on my hands when I wasn't streaming. When I say I was streaming 8 to 10 hours a day, I was streaming 8 to 10 hours a day. That's the majority of someone's day. I would wake up, maybe shower, do whatever chores or things needed to get done, which probably take 1 to 2 hours before I went live. Stream for 8 to 10, sometimes 12, and then end stream, go get food, and go to bed. My day, every day, was consumed by streaming. And then you might say, hearing that, well, then why don't you just cut down the amount of time you spent streaming? Why don't you just dial it back? You know, why don't you only stream for like 4 or 5 hours? Because I couldn't. Because once I started, I couldn't stop. And again, that's why I went by the basis of pull the plug. Just end it. Cut it. Don't keep going. And then I realized I am a lot more lonely than I thought. I'm a lot more alone in my life than I truly believed I was. Because it was a subconscious thing that I was defeating my own loneliness through streaming. But I am. It's been a week. I am more lonely than I thought. But back to time, I also realize now that I have more time for things that I can use to give myself a healthier life. I realize that if I'm not streaming all night, I can go take a walk on the treadmill. I can watch shows that I've been backed up on because I'm not spending every waking moment on a live broadcast. It's the sort of stuff that really you don't think about until whatever's in the way of it, whatever the distraction is gone. And I had people reach out to me. I want to be clear about that. I don't want to say that I quit and it wasn't, you know, a big deal to me. I had friends reach out concerned. I had friends reach out believing that I was in danger to myself. That I was... because I was throwing away something that was so precious to me, and that's what they know about me. They knew that I was, like, out of a lot of my friends, like, I'm the guy who was trying to be the streamer. I was the dude who was trying to stream and be the personality. Like, I was the one that was always live. I was, you know, I had them check in on me. I had other friends say, yeah, you've talked about, you know, not really feeling streaming before. Like, why are you saying it again? Like, you know you're gonna come back. And I had to explain that this was different. Before, I'd said, like, hey, I'm only going to stream when I want to. And I'm going to... if I'm not feeling any games at the time, I'm going to just quit. I'm just not going to quit. I'm going to take breaks. I'm just not going to stream. But I never said I'm done. Until now. And that's it was a very difficult thing for me to do. The entire time that I was playing the end game of Pokemon Scarlet, my brain was going, you could just not say it. You could just not quit. All it takes is for you to keep your mouth shut, and no one would know you were even thinking this stuff. Just don't say it. Just don't say it. You need this too much. Just don't say it. And I think that's what made me say it, was the fact that I was trying to stop myself so bad. Because I shouldn't have to stop myself. I should be able to stop. And what I do appreciate more than anything else is that no one tried to convince me not to. No one that reached out to me, no one that's spoken to me has tried to convince me to reverse my decision. I'm glad that everyone has been able to at least accept that I am doing something that is healthy for me. So I guess the question then becomes, what becomes of Corey going forward? As most of my community knows, I am obviously a video editor. Obviously, I had dreams of becoming a full-time streamer and not video editing for the rest of my life, but that's not a possibility. I do not have the kind of whatever is needed to be successful on Twitch to be successful as a streamer. I don't have whatever that is to be able to make broadcasting a full-time job. So I will continue doing the work I've been doing, the editing that I've been doing for many, many, many talented creators who have given me the opportunity and put in my hands their content to put it on a pedestal, to boost it up, to make it better. And then additionally, I plan on making more edited content that I can put my time into and put creative mind into that can hopefully reach a wider audience and be something that I can be proud of and hopefully see development and results for. I don't know if that's going to be on YouTube edited content. I don't know if that's going to be on TikTok. I don't know what form it's going to be in, whether it's, you know, tutorials for things or commentaries, or I don't know. I don't understand yet what kind of creation, what kind of content creator I want to be. All I do know is that streaming, live broadcasting, isn't it. It's not what I'm made for, and after 8 years, I do give up. Now, I use the phrase failure, and I feel bad for doing so, because I had many people say, well, you're not a failure. You didn't fail. You've done this and that and this and that and the other thing, and I need to clarify now. I know I'm not a failure. I don't believe that over the 8 years I got nothing back out of the amount of time and effort I put into streaming. I met some of the most wonderful people I have ever had the possibility or pleasure to meet in my entire life. I have made friends that I look to now as my support system. I've been able to, like, I guess, grow as a personality, or at least become a little more confident as a person. And streaming got me out of a lot of bad places. I could say streaming, at least in some way, I can't say it's a guaranteed thing, but, you know, got me some of my clientele currently. It got me a lot. And I appreciate the amount of time I put in. I'm not throwing it all away. I'm not trashing it completely. And I'm not saying it's not worth ever having again. I very much so treasure the amount of time I dedicated to it. But I feel in my life it is time to dedicate my time and my effort and my creativity to something else. What that something else is, I don't know. And I probably won't know for a while. But nonetheless, I felt the need to explain myself. And this video is way longer than I wanted it to be, and I don't know who's going to sit through the entire nearly half hour of me sitting here and ranting and going off on tangents and different threads and explaining myself, but I didn't believe that a 4-minute video through the credits of Pokemon Scarlet did my thought process and my mind enough justice. So, take this as my official declaration, explanation of why I stopped, why I pulled the plug, why I quit streaming. It's been a tough week, but it's getting easier day by day. So, for those of you who are part of my community, I hope you stay part of my community in the way that I create things going forward. And those of you who weren't, I don't know why you're watching this. That'd be a real weird decision if you're not part of my community to watch this video. But nonetheless, I hope that I've clarified some things. And I'll see you guys in whatever comes next for me. Bye.